Here to tell you about the expedited residential rate review process and proposed changes to residential rates for 2018-19. As a reminder, the city does not set rates for multifamily or commercial properties. The Bureau of Planning and Sustainability regulates a dozen franchise companies that provide residential garbage, recycling, and composting curbside collection service to single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. Each year, BPS conducts a thorough analysis of the costs providing curbside service. We contract with an independent CPA to review each garbage and recycling company's financial records. Thanks to their excellent recycling and composting habits, Portlanders have kept waste disposal rates low for many years. Since 2011, rates have stayed relatively steady, with 2 years of rate decreases and 2 years of rates holding flat. Typically, cost increases associated with new truck purchases, for instance, are planned for, and they're gradual enough to include in new rates that begin on July 1st. But due to the urgent nature of the current recycling market conditions, the City of Portland is moving this process forward to get new rates in place by May 1st. So why recycling markets are affecting the costs of doing business for Portland's recycling system. Recyclable materials are a commodity. They're used by manufacturers throughout the world. When recyclables are used to make new products, it reduces the use of natural resources and saves energy and water in the manufacturing process. Recyclables are a commodity. In the background here, you see bales of plastic and paper. And these commodities are experiencing severely depressed market prices, in addition to a large spike in processing costs. So why is this happening now? Local recyclers send cardboard to Oregon paper mills to make new boxes and paper bags. Glass is sent to the glass recycling plant near the airport to make new glass bottles. And metals are used by other U.S. manufacturers. But unsorted paper and plastic are primarily exported to China to be used in their manufacturing system. As you may have heard, China recently adopted broad environmental and economic policies aimed at reducing environmental impacts. As part of these measures, China notified recycling companies around the world that China will only be importing recyclable materials that meet very high quality standards. These new higher standards require recycling facilities to slow their sorting lines and hire more people to further sort materials and successfully market them to manufacturers in China and elsewhere. These steps have significantly increased facility operating costs. Beginning last fall, the fees the garbage and recycling companies paid to drop off recyclables at sorting facilities reached record high levels. This was both unanticipated and unprecedented. We are not alone in this situation. Cities around the U.S. and Europe are looking for new markets for their recyclables. BPS is working in collaboration with Oregon DEQ, Metro, recycling facilities, and garbage and recycling companies to determine the best course of action for a long-term solution. So what are the predicted impacts on the rates? There are other factors putting upward pressure on the rates besides recycling. Inflation has increased labor and fuel costs for haulers. Disposal fees levied by Metro on garbage disposed at regional transfer stations have also increased. But recycling is the main reason. Since December 2017, it costs more to take recyclables to a recycling facility than it does to dispose of them in a landfill. Garbage and recycling companies have paid these substantially higher costs for months without being covered by the current rates. This upward pressure is also affecting other metro region jurisdictions such as Gresham, Hillsborough, Washington, and Clackamas counties, all of which are working on an expedited rate review process with similar rate increases like we are. To adjust the rate model in accordance with real-world costs of service, we're looking at about a 10% increase, around $3 per household per month. About $2 of that increase is due solely to the recycling market conditions. Although this is a significant increase relative to our mostly stable rates that we've seen thus far, it's still below where rates would be if we had just adjusted for inflation, as this table shows, from rates from 2012 going forward. That said, we know Portlanders feel any kind of rate increase in their pocketbooks. And for years, our office, with this commission's help, we've really worked hard to keep rates low as possible. But it's still important to recycle. Cities across the US and Europe are working on solutions to resolve the interruption in the global recycling system, and we need to keep recycling. We recycle because using recycled material in the manufacturing process reduces the need for more energy-intensive and environmentally impactful practices such as mining and drilling. And the vast majority of our materials will continue to be recycled. We have a great system in place, and Portlanders are proud of it. We have achieved one of the best recycling levels in the nation, and we don't want to interrupt that daily habit. As a reminder, Portlanders should always reduce and reuse materials first, then keep on doing a great job recycling and composting, and to follow Portland's approved recycling list. Sometimes there's that urge to take some of those items that you wish you could recycle. But as a reminder, items like plastic clamshells, other to-go containers, coffee cups, frozen food boxes and plastic bags belong on the far left in the garbage. So keep recycling, but put that other wishful stuff in the garbage can. It only adds cost to our system. So what's up next? BPS started the review of hauler financial records and consideration of other system costs in early March. We will share our findings with you at the April 10th meeting and request that you forward a recommendation on rates to council. This topic is on the City Council agenda for April 18th, and it will allow rates to change by May 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. We have questions.
I was just going to make one comment before, just for a little more broader perspective, is that what you don't know is that pretty much always for the past 30 years or so, your bill has actually been $1 or $2 less than it would have been if we hadn't been recycling, because they've been able to sell those materials to the market. Currently, because of what's going on in some of the markets that this materials are going to, they've changed what can go there because there's non-recyclables in the recycling. So, you know, plastic bags, other kinds of trash maybe. They're saying we aren't going to take that anymore. And so in a way, I'm okay with that. They're basically saying, well, you guys got to do a better job and we're not going to take, you know, all of America's garbage. What they want us to do is do a better job. In Portland, we do a really good job. So, but all of our stuff gets merged together with everybody else pretty much on the West Coast and from a whole lot of other countries. And so basically, just in terms of perspective, we want people to keep recycling. It used to actually pay us to recycle considerably. And right now, this is sort of we need to correct it for now. I don't see that necessarily this is going to go on. Hopefully it won't go on for months and months and months, but if it does, then we need to keep the rate in, and if it doesn't, we'll be back, every year to look at the rates again, and if it's changed, then we'll change the rates again.
Great. So I saw Jeff's hand up, and then Chris, Andre, Eli.
Bruce, you didn't have a dollar amount in the presentation. I thought I heard you say $3, but then there was a slide that suggested it was $4 and change. What is the rate increase you're recommending?
So it's draft right now. We're still working on it. It's about $3 per household per month. So roughly a 10% rate increase.
So, several questions. I read something in the paper about Metro's disposal rates being challenged over mixing wet and dry waste. Is that controversy going to have any impact on our process, or are we insulated from that?
That potentially could change how rates are treated, but right now that it would affect residential rates in probably a small manner. It would, if Metro chose a bifurcated rate to charge higher for dry waste and lower for wet waste, which is what residential waste is treated as, it potentially could lower rates, but that's being discussed, and the current staff recommendation at Metro is to keep level rates for all waste being disposed at their facilities.
And I assume that wouldn't resolve in time for this year's process for us anyway, to be a next year.
It likely would, and there's going to be more discussion of that issue. So, but I think your last comment is it's likely not to be changed in time for this year.
And I understand that the Chinese program is called National Sword. I kind of think if maybe we named some of our environmental programs National Sword, it would be harder for Republicans to vote against them. But they're targeting a 0.5% contamination rate, is that right?
That is correct. That is what they are seeking in their shipments into their country, which is substantially reduce the amount of recyclables, not only that come out of the Pacific Northwest, but out of California ports as well, and from around the world.
And our best historical rate has been around 5%, is that right? So
or slightly lower than that after materials get...
But we're an order of magnitude away from
right.
standard, right? So
right.
Do we think we have changes in our programs in the future that could get us closer and help close the gap, or how are we thinking about addressing that?
Well, the current sorting facilities are needing to do additional sorting now to meet standards not only in China but elsewhere in the world. As they get cleaner materials with less contamination in there, they're able to market more readily, and they're actively looking not only at other markets in exploring newer markets, and it's not just with China, it's in North America, and there's much discussion of how to develop more markets in the U.S.
Are we looking at programs to do better at the curbside so households contribute to helping solve the problem? Are we going to have educational programs?
Yes, we are very much interested in working, and we'll be sending out additional information in June to reinforce the message of stop the wishful recycling, let's clean it up at the curb. So there's steps that we can take with education, that people can take at households, that haulers will participate in trying to adjust or provide feedback to customers, as well as the sorting facilities.
Okay. And you know I can't have you here and not ask you how the progress on the side yard program is going.
I anticipated that, and we've installed side guards. This is protection on the side of solid waste recycling and compost vehicles. It's for safety, just in case Mr. Smith has not made that clear in the past. It's these side guards can protect from collisions from the side, typically from cyclists, but also from pedestrians. We've worked with Portland haulers to install on 15 companies, and we've got another small batch to bring in as part of a pilot project that we're working on. So